All In Sports Network. We love sports.
Coming to you from the land of brisket and barbecue, Lone Stars and Longhorns, this is All In Colts, presented by the Unstable Blues.
Welcome back in. Only 4 games remain in the 2024 Colts season, 2 on the road in potential weather conditions, and 2 division games at home. We will look at the season thus far and make our predictions of the last 4 games, or 3 technically. So let's go. All In Colts.
That's correct. I'm Kevin. This is my son Liam. We are the Unstable Blues. Happy to present All In Colts as part of the Rogue Media Sports Network.
Yeah, my mistake for that is
Going
again.
Nope. We're good.
It was 3 last games because we originally were going to talk about the Broncos, and we switched up to not talk about it so we can save that for later in the week.
Right.
So 3 games left, and the Colts are 2 games out of the playoffs behind the Denver Broncos, who they play next, and an ensuing duel on the horizon out west.
Yes, the Colts still have 3 of the top 5 tacklers in the league with Zaire Franklin, Nick Cross, and EJ Speed. Nick Cross, both Zaire Franklin and Nick Cross have the chance to do something amazing. Zaire Franklin could break the franchise record of tackles in a single season for the 3rd straight year.
And it was set by himself each time.
Set by himself. He broke Shaq Leonard's, and then he broke his, and now he could break his again. And then Nick Cross could break a all-time safety tackling record.
Just in the league as a whole.
Yes, and could be the first safety to get 150 tackles or more since Pat Tillman. The legend of Pat Tillman, the Cardinals safety who chose to turn in football to go fight for our country and ended up dying in Iraq.
Okay, so with all this kind of being said, thus far, who is your most surprising player?
Nick Cross.
Nick Cross.
Guarantee it. You think back to the last 2 years, think back to his rookie year, and he was the youngest player on the team, youngest player in the league. He came out early out of Maryland, and he ended up starting and then got benched, and Rodney McLeod came in and did well in that Gus Bradley system he was familiar with. It took Nick Cross almost 2 full seasons to gain back a starting position, and it didn't do well in training camp either because he literally almost broke the ankles of the top receiver for the Colts and Josh Downs.
Yep.
And had to have a whole talking to, and you've heard me say it before, I've said it at least twice on this podcast, I believe that moment in Shane Steichen's office changed how he went about his business and changed his mentality going forward. And we are all, as Colts fans, better for it.
Yes.
Who's your most surprising player?
Okay, I have a question because this could be 2 different answers here.
Okay.
Is this since our last midseason update or the whole season?
You can take it as you would like it.
Okay.
I'll
go both ways then.
I went at it as a season as a whole, cumulative, but you can.
I'll kind of touch on both.
Okay.
Because whole season, Alec Pierce. I was a major hater. Expected nothing from him. AR has a big arm. That's what Pierce is for. He leads the league in most receptions over 22 yards, I believe. I don't know why it's exactly 22, but that's just what it is.
I think people can go back to week 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. No further, you don't have to. You have to go way back, but no earlier than that to hear your apology. If you don't want to listen to the whole episode, you can just go through the shorts and see Liam's official apology.
After the Houston game, right?
Was it after the first Houston game? I think
Well,
you
that
gave it a
was
little
his-
bit more than that, but
I think it was after week 3 because he had another big game or something like that.
yeah, you can go back. I highly recommend it. It is Class A. You did a great job. I mean, you accepted your losses.
I owned up to it.
Yeah, you did a great job. So
yeah. Alex Pierce for whole season since last time, because last time I believe Flacco was the quarterback. Because that was 4 weeks ago.
Joke Flacco.
I have 2. 1, Matt Gay, because he's hit everything. 2, I talked about Joe Flacco, so isn't this obvious? AR, like, are you kidding me? He played in the beginning of the year. He played great against Houston, but after that it was kind of where did that go?
Yep.
And now he's playing, I wouldn't say lights out necessarily, but he's playing phenomenal football. His receivers just aren't helping him out, which I've heard a lot of people talk about his receivers not helping him out, which makes me worry for the future after his rookie deal, if he's actually going to want to stay in Indy or not. Going to need improvement, which is lucky that we have another year. So that's kind of where my head is for most surprising players on both sides.
All right. What about Rookie of the Year?
Is it a question? Like, we had it last time. We had it the first time. Latu. Like, I don't think it's a question. I mean, he stepped in and filled a huge role. He's not necessarily starting yet, but I think he works in the offseason. By next year comes around, I think he could be a starter up there with, I think it'd be Quiddy, Grove, Buck, and Latu. I don't see a reason why it wouldn't be those 4. I think, honestly, right now it should be those 4 still, and Odangbo shouldn't be in there.
Okay.
That's just my hot take.
Both Quiddy and Odangbo are on their last year.
It's a prove-it year for them.
Yep.
Give the young guys their shot, especially whenever they're performing well.
I am also going to give it to Latu, but I got to give a shout-out, honorable mention, to
the gauntlet as they march it right down Pittsburgh's throat.
Tanner Bortolini.
He's played wherever you need him to.
I mean, he came in unexpectedly, and then he continued to come in and, I think it's also a credit. I mean, coaching. It's also a credit to my last year assistant coach of the year that we had at the end of the season, of Tony Sperano Jr. What he has done to turn around this offensive line. It's almost the exact same. Like, when you talk about the starters, it's the exact same starting lineup from 22 that was terrible. Same guys. If it's the same guys and it's different, guess what the difference was is coaching. So that's my honorable mention. Defensive player of the year.
Defensive player of the year. Nick Cross. I like the way he's been performing. No, I'm going to pivot. Not Nick Cross. Jalen Jones. He has stepped up massive. He is a true number 1 corner now. He's getting looked at from all over the league to be a true corner. People, I wouldn't say are scared of him necessarily, but like, he does his job pretty well. So I'm going to go Jalen Jones.
Do you want to be scared? Like, do you want to be feared? Or do you want to just come in under the radar and bust some chops?
It's true.
I'd rather take a 7th rounder who nobody knows, and all of a sudden, like, he's just knocking things down and doing amazing. I'm with you. Sam Womack on the other side was a surprise. I could have thrown that one in there, but I'm going to go Nick Cross. I mean, what he has done, I understand all of the criticism behind a safety this high in the tackles and what that means for 3 of your guys to be in the top 10 in tackles, because that means you are on the field a lot as a defense. And this is correct. All true statements.
Yes.
It doesn't change the fact that when he is in there, he has a nose for the ball and he gets to the ball. Whether it is a run, whether it is a pass, he is always somewhere around where he needs to be. And that shows great intelligence to where you need to be.
Yeah. Also, another thing I just want to touch on a little bit, most surprising, not a player, it's a coach. Since the last one, it's another one of those, Gus Bradley. The defense has been pretty well compared to the very beginning of the season. I like the way we're performing. All right.
The tackling is still troubling, but
it is. But the scheme is there. The scheme is there. That's just execution. That's on the players.
I know.
It's on the players.
Yeah, but
no buts. It's on the players. It's on the players.
All right.
All right. Offensive player of the year. Who you got?
I think I might steal one from you here. I had some back and forth, but it's got to be Jonathan Taylor.
I like it.
I mean, very seldom is your running back your MVP, and that's the next thing that we're coming with, but it's Jonathan Taylor. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've seen when he does well, the offense runs. When he doesn't, it puts way too much strain on Anthony Richardson and apparently on the receivers who aren't good at their job.
Yeah. Now, my MVP.
Wait. Who's your offensive player?
Sorry.
You disagree with me?
No. Agree with me? Well, I agree with you.
Okay, cool.
Jonathan Taylor is doing good, but
yeah.
I'm going to give it to someone else.
Oh. Really?
I feel like this is kind of...
I feel like you're breaking running back lines here.
See, I want to give it to JT, but does the running back thrive without this?
Oh, yeah. I'm
giving it to the whole offensive line. Because there's been so many flip arounds. There's not one person I can point down. Q has been in there the whole time, I believe. But there's been so many injuries, so many things. So really, should it go to the offensive line or the running back, or should it go to the offensive line coach, who kind of runs everything? So I'm split between all three of them because JT does stuff in the second level that the offensive line doesn't help with. But you can't get there without the offensive line, and the offensive line doesn't do what it does, like we saw in 22, unless the offensive line coach is there. So it all strings down. It's like a puppet with the puppeteers and everything. So I got to give it – but I'm going to kind of cut it, go offensive line, because execution is very important.
I like it. All right. Now, if you would like to, you may go ahead with your MVP.
See, MVP – like last year, for example, just at the league, it's very controversial in who people think. It was Lamar because quarterbacks. It's a quarterback award in all reality. Should have been CMC, but it's a quarterback award. This, like as of right now, I don't think it's controversial who this should be. Okay. We've been saying this. How the offense runs depends on JT, how effective he is. Not necessarily if he's there or not, just how effective he's being. But in all reality, it runs way more through this guy that I'm about to say. And that is Josh Downs. He's just the life of the offense. Second year, by the way. He's playing amazing. That is Joe Flacco's number one target and AR's number one target. He is the true number one wide receiver. And normally you don't have a one wide receiver in the slot. Like me and Isaiah were talking today. We were talking about who is the number one on the Rams. Is it Puka or is it Kupp? I said it's Puka because he's on the outside. Cooper just is really, really good at the slot. And Isaiah didn't believe me. And then later on in the game, he's like, okay, Puka is the number one. Because Puka is who Matt Stafford throws to if he needs someone.
That you got Atwell and Robinson. They both do what they do extremely well, too.
It's true. But Josh Downs is the guy. Out of the slot, if you look to anyone, AR throws it to him. Or Pierce, which makes me think, is Pierce the number 2? Is Pierce the number 2 over Pittman?
Michael Pittman Jr. has been struggling with back injuries and different things all season. And
Tyrese Halliburton of last season, the end of the season.
And once again, if you want a player to play well, you dangle the money in front of them. As soon as you pay them, just got paid.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he's taking time off. I'm not saying the whole locker room will tell you toughest guy. But there is something to the truth that you play better when you're earning something rather than you already did.
Yeah.
Earn it.
Also, I talked about back injuries with Tyrese Halliburton of last year. I'm getting a little off topic here.
Okay.
But Pacers lost tonight. Sadly, they lost to the Hornets by 4, I believe. TJ McConnell had a career night. 30 points. 6 assists.
That boy.
And 2 blocks. That little guy. 2 blocks.
Yep.
Great performance from TJ. Now,
yeah.
If it's Halliburton having that performance, I think they win the game. But we are not a Pacers podcast. We are Colts. So continue. Who is your MVP?
My MVP, I cannot go anywhere else other than Josh First Downs.
There we go.
I'm not saying that the struggles with the defense at the beginning of the season were on him, because they weren't. But the only game that the Colts have lost, or the only game the Colts have won without Josh First Downs, is the Patriots game last. That's the only game that they have won without Josh Downs.
It's true. And that was close.
I'm not saying that obviously they've lost games with him, but if you look at his production in games that, and I haven't done a whole lot of digging, but I challenge you, if you were watching this, go and prove me wrong. If Josh Downs has, I don't want to give numbers to it, but if he is efficient in his production, meaning over more than 7 catches, got 8 catches at least, and at least 60-ish yards, okay? There's my stats. Okay. If he's being efficient, the Colts offense runs better because he is Josh First Downs.
Yep. Sometimes Josh touchdowns.
First downs. He keeps the chains moving. He keeps the offense on the field so that you don't have a 40-minute to 20-minute. Yeah.
I hope that's nothing bad.
I don't know what that means. We may have just been super offensive. I don't know. You don't have a 40-minute to 20-minute time of possession like the Colts had in the first 2 games solidly without him. So that is the definition of an MVP. You don't have to play every game. Last year, my MVP was Grover Stewart because the Colts defense, run defense, was entirely different with him and then without him. You don't know it until he's not there. So sometimes your MVP needs to be missed so you know who is most valuable. All right. The Colts currently sit second in the division at 6-7, 2 games back from Houston at 8-5. The Jaguars and Titans bring up the rear. We'll talk more about the update from the South tomorrow. But here we are, our preseason predictions. I had the Colts going 9-8. You had them at 10-7.
Yep.
I was 7. I had them at 7-6 at this point in the season prediction. I
had them at 6-7. So
exactly what
I had them different ways to go about, but I had them right 6-7 right at this moment.
Yep. So you have to come back on Friday to see our predictions for the all-important Broncos showdown. So we will be starting with the Titans going to Indy. They play at the Commanders. They played at the Commanders. They played the Jaguars, and then they played the Bengals next week before they come to Indy, and they got the Jags right after.
Yes.
What do
Now,
you think?
in my opinion, none of this matters if you don't beat the Broncos.
Oh, like I said, hold those thoughts because we're going to come back to it.
Yes.
The Broncos next week between the Broncos
Every single game is a
Colts,
playoff game.
and the Dolphins
Every
game.
single game.
Right. The Broncos game with the Colts and the Dolphins game with Houston. If those things don't go the Colts' direction, none of this really matters. You're right. Okay. But
anyways,
for the sake of this, who you got? So win or loss?
The Colts are gonna need this. It's a win.
Okay. I also think it will be a win. It's a home game. They already beat them on the road with Joe. So, yeah.
Next game is in New York,
Mm-hmm.
playing the Giants. The Giants previously played the Saints. This week they played, or not this week they played the Ravens, and then they played the Falcons, and then they will play the Eagles after the Colts.
Yep. I have this one. Tough game in a tough place with weather. I'm going to say they lose this one.
Oh.
I know.
They need it. They're going to get it done. I think the Giants are, surprisingly, they keep games close. But that's what kind of the Colts thrive in, if you really think about it. All of their games have been decided by one possession. I think the Colts are going to get it done.
All right.
Go shoe.
And then the last game of the season, Jaguars at home. They play the Jets at the Raiders and the Titans before the final game. What do you think?
Let's not let the Jaguars ruin our season again. Let's go into the playoffs strong with a win here.
Okay. All right. I think that whether this game matters or not in the grand scheme of things, I think this is we'll talk about must wins on Friday and whether that is really a thing or not. To me, at the end of the season, you gotta, whether you're going to the playoffs or whether you're going to the off season, you gotta hit the ground running, and that starts with a win at the end.
I think
that's something the Colts have not been able to do since. Well, I mean, they haven't won the last game of the season since 19, maybe
something like that. Yeah,
because 2020 they were in playoffs and they lost.
Yeah,
so I'd have to do some digging, but so I think this is going to be a win.
Yeah, I think at this point the Colts are they're in the hunt in the playoffs. I think if you're in the hunt at this late of the season, it's too late for you to try and get a good draft pick. You just got to go for the playoffs.
Yeah. That puts me at 8-8 without the Broncos game.
And I am 9-7 without the Broncos. Tune in on Friday, though. I know we keep on plugging Friday's episode. Tune in on Friday for that episode. I'm sure I'll get passionate. So
it's a big deal.
It is a massive deal.
I may have to record Liam's first Colts touchdown celebration.
Oh goodness!
If that happens. hopefully it happens.
It should happen.
Okay, just as a comparison here, the two main teams the Colts are after here, not the teams behind. We don't look in the rearview; we look ahead. Houston's remaining schedule, they have 3 games within 11 days. The Dolphins at home, at the Chiefs, and the Ravens. They play at home on Christmas Day, and then they end the season at the Titans.
Yes. And then Broncos, their remaining schedule. They played the Colts. Once again, another shameless plug. We'll pick that game on Friday. Stay tuned for that. It's a massive episode. You're going to want to check it out.
Yep.
We don't do this type of thing with many but like getting deep into the playoffs, this game is a playoff game. It matters for the AFC as a whole, honestly.
Yep.
Because if they lose, not only do the Colts get closer, but so do the Dolphins if they can win next week.
Yep.
Massive for AFC playoffs and the wild card. Then the Broncos will play Thursday Night Football in Los Angeles, who the Chargers almost beat the Chiefs.
Yep.
Doink. Then the Broncos have to go play in Cincinnati in the weird Bermuda Triangle of the NFL, play the Bengals, who the offense has to do something in the Bengals game because the defense has to do something because the Bengals offense is lights out.
Yep.
And then they go play the dreaded Chiefs that everybody hates. They are the official most hated team in the league now, surpassing the Cowboys this year.
Although the Lions are creeping up.
It's true. I think if the Bills keep winning, or even if the Bills don't keep winning, if the Steelers keep winning,
something,
and the Chiefs lose one, and then the Steelers beat the Chiefs in Week 17, the Chiefs have to keep winning. So they'll have to win Week 18 against the Broncos. That could work really well in our favor.
Yep.
We'll talk a lot more about that in Friday's episode, though.
Yep. But that is it for today. We will be back tomorrow. South. Later this week, we will have our Unstable Pick 6 prediction show, our look at Colts players and their fantasy projections, and our preview of that Colts playoff style showdown at Mile High in the Sky against the Denver Broncos.
Yep. This is Liam.
And this is Kevin.
Reminding you to stay all in Colts.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.